Okay, welcome. So for the folks who may watch this recording, we just made the announcement. We're going to be making space today. So in addition to normally having your blocks and some cushion to sit on, but maybe even some bigger bolster-like things, or a blanket, just so you can roll that up for making space. And we'll actually even start standing today. So starting standing, you have your mat kind of cleared off. You take your feet, outer hips distance apart, wide as your yoga mat kind of thing. And making space. In yoga, space is called akasha. Akasha. And it means like where everything is in. It's like all the stuff is in space. Even your body, where we're in space. And the air, the atmosphere is in space. And so for like a body perspective and a practice perspective, we are looking to keep spaciousness in our body. So when you're standing in the beginning of practice here, just kind of walk your feet out. As you're walking your feet out, kind of just think about standing up tall, up vertical. And just let your arms kind of float out a little bit, not too far. And even just like rock a little bit from the ball of the foot to the heel of the foot. Just open your chest. Open by bringing the hands in front, maybe open your back. Just go back and forth 2 or 3 times. Making space. We kind of want to get in tune with just the space that we're taking up. Stretch your arms in the sky, open your throat. Be present for the front of your spine, that the front of your spine is making space. Good. Exhale, bring those arms down by your sides. Let's do that again. You're going to inhale, lift your arms up. This time you come up on the balls of your feet. Breathe in. Then drop your heels down, arms by your side. Continue to rock on the ball of the foot, heel of the foot. Let's go side to side. Maybe make some hip circles. So part of making space, we want to figure out how we're taking up space. How is our body in this environment? How are we in our body? Even just understanding how our different joints interact together is all about understanding space. Reverse the circle of your hips. Good. Inhale, stretch your arms up, balls to the feet. Lift up the heels, breathe. Exhale down. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Good. Go ahead, support your low back. Take your hands to your low back like so. Just going to inhale, lift open the chin. So you're just going to send your chin up. Notice how that makes space. Now you can make space in any direction. Notice how this action makes space. Good. Now it's almost a little counterintuitive, but you're going to bow forward a little bit. Right? We're actually removing space in the front of the hips when we bow. Where do we make space when we bow forward? I'm noticing the back of my hips. Just hanging here for a moment. Good. Inhale, come back up. Part of making space is keeping the spine spacious. So oftentimes when we bow forward, we tend to round our back. What you're going to do today, as you bow forward, this next one is notice how my hips shift back. This keeps space in the lower part of my spine. As I shift my hips back, you can bend your knees. I'm just bowing forward a little bit. This would be very safe if I wanted to pick something up. I'm actually going to hold this position here for a moment. You can see my back is very strong. I'm bending forward just a little bit. My heart is above my hips. Let's just pause and breathe here. After a few minutes, you might feel a little bit of engagement in your back muscles. That's good. Let's make some space in our throat. Bend our knees a little deeper. And then inhale, come back up. So that the muscles support keeping spaciousness in our body. With the right foot on the right corner of the mat, step the left foot towards the left edge of the mat. Good, bend our knees. We're going to inhale, lift up our arms. Good, now shift your hips back as you bend your knees and reach down like your fingertips. You can even have the blocks here to keep space, right? Or you can reach for the floor. Just gonna bend your knees, sit low. Notice that the joints are staying spacious and stable. Good, push down through your legs. Inhale, rise back up. Let's go ahead and change our feet. Left foot on the front corner, right foot on the edge. Inhale, lift up. Now go ahead and push your hips back as you lower down so your spine stays spacious. You can put your hands on blocks or hands on the floor. Breathe here. Hips are engaged. All the joints have space as they start to stabilize. Keeping this sort of athletic posture, keep a tactile awareness of our body. Lift back up. This will help us stay aware of the space that we're taking up, the space that we're occupying. Good. Let's go ahead and just turn your left knee and left foot out. Open the front of this hip here for a second. And you're going to lift your left arm up. Just sort of lengthen this line here from the left toe to the left hand. Now lean back away from that left toe, that left foot. Good. Come back down, turn that foot in, turn the right foot out 90 degrees, lift the right arm up. And just lean back so you're making space on that whole right side of the body. Good, bring it back down. Both legs now, about as wide as your mat. You're gonna bend your knees, shift your hips back, but keep your back straight. You're gonna squat down, keep space. Breathe. Keep the back engaged. Space on all sides of your spine. Good. If you've got blocks, you're going to use them today for your tabletop. You're going to put the blocks on their low setting. And you'll notice what this does is it brings your chest up a little higher than your hips. Tuck your back toes, and we're going to inhale, open our chest. Make space in the front body. Just notice when we open our chin, where do we make space? Good. Let's reverse that as you round the back, lift your ribs. You're making space in the back body. Breathe into it. Good. One more time, open the front body. One more time, open the back body. Keep your toes tucked. Keep your knees bent as you go into downward dog today. With the knees bent in downward dog, you'll notice that you keep a little more space in the front of your hips. Open the chest. So we used to practice it. We used to call it crouching cat. We're keeping space today. Just understanding what it means to make space, you can feel how the front of the hip has less space than the back of the hip in this pose. Let's compare it now to the cobra or the upward dog. You're going to come all the way forward. You're going to lower down, flat on the belly. And when you lift up here, now you'll notice that the front of your hip has a lot of space. The front of your hip has a lot of space compared to the downward dog. We're lengthening the muscles on the front of the hip. We're gonna make even more space on the right side. What you're gonna do is you're gonna lift your right leg up and you're gonna pull your right leg over to your left, and you'll feel that that right hip, the front of the right hip, has even more space. Good, bring it back down, switch sides. Go ahead and lift the left leg up and take the left leg over to the right, and you'll feel that the front of the left hip has more space. We're just understanding our anatomy a little bit tonight. And we can think about through contracting, right? We can think about taking away space, but we're practicing giving space, making space in our bodies here primarily. But how beautiful is it when we make space in our lives? Bend your knees, lift back up, tabletop pose. Making space in our lives can have all sorts of effects, ramifications. Making space in our mind, that's some of the higher yogic values. You're gonna walk your hands over to the left side. You're gonna put your right foot off on the right side. So we've got a nice low lunge. And of course, we've made space in our stance. Knee out wide. Good, sit your hips back a little bit. And then let's come up to kneeling. So we've got our right hand on our right knee, left hand on our hip. And just practice lifting the chest up, pressing your feet down, pressing your knee down, nice and spacious. This is so important for helping our balance. Good, go ahead, put your hands back on the blocks and tuck your back toe. If you want to lift, go ahead and lift that back knee up off the ground. Breathe here, keep it spacious, everything wider, everything longer, hands farther apart. Good, nice. Place that down. Let's go ahead and switch side by walking the hands over other way. Left foot out. You just start in the low lunge, but it's wider. Sit the hips back a little bit. Breathe. Just by, we're still contracting muscles, right, to do the pose, but in this context, we're just keeping space in the joints, keeps the joints safe, keeps the circulation open. If you can, you're going to push down, you're going to lift up. Left hand on the knee, right hand on the hip, and just lengthen your spine today. Broaden your collarbones and shoulder blades today. Simple poses, but what we're doing is we're putting a philosophy of mind, of spaciousness, into these very simple, common poses that we do all the time. Good, bring the hands back down. Just see what kind of arises by the end of the practice. Tuck the right toes, lift the right knee. It's a lunge now, but the ideology is of spaciousness, keeping room so the muscles can stabilize and be strong around their respective joints. Good. From here, you're gonna walk the hands forward and step on back. Plank pose, wide as the yoga mat. You can keep your hips a little higher today, feet nice and wide, arms nice and wide, just breathe. Nice and long stance today. Walk the feet a little further back, it actually gets a little easier. Is your spine long? That's a great way to know if your pose is actually spacious. Is your spine long on the front? Is your spine long on the back? Good, let's drop down to our knees. Keep that curve in our low back. That's kind of important for spaciousness. When you drop down to your knees, go ahead and lift your left knee up and out to the side, and then pull that left knee back. So you got a nice big opening in your left hip. Then we're gonna draw a nice big circle and place it back down. You're gonna lift the right knee up and pull it back to the left, so it opened up our right hip. You're gonna bring it around and down. It's cool, actually. You can bring your legs together. You can bring your knees together, your shins together, and you can just think of it in the context of space. Check in for yourself. Pop quiz. When you squeeze your legs together, which seems like a removing of space, where did we make space? So by bringing the legs closer together, where did we make space? You try it, feel, see if you get the answer right. When you squeeze your legs together, you're actually making space in the back of your hips. If you guess back of your hips, you got it. And if you can take your knees a little further apart, this actually usually feels better because it helps us tone the back of our hips. Our glute muscles sometimes get weak. All right, tuck the toes, lift up, crouching cats, our spacious down dog. And you're gonna go ahead and walk your feet to the front of your mat, or frontish. Shift your hips nice and far back today, way back until your feet feel grounded, and then inhale, rise up. Beautiful. Great job staying safe. Inhale, stretch your arms up to the sky. You're gonna interlock your fingers. Keep your elbows a little bit bent today. That helps with the spaciousness, helps with the mobility of the shoulder. Pull the shoulders and elbows back. Lengthen your spine. 2 more deep breaths here. Good. Bring the arms down by your sides. You're going to take your hands out in an A shape, carrying angle of the arms. Turn the thumbs out. Pull the shoulders back. Now let's start to deepen our breath. Fill in the space you're making with your breath. Good. Remember what we worked on. Bend your knees as you shift your hips back, keeping space. Bow forward. You're only going to bow forward about 1/4 of the way until you feel your back muscles fire. Once your back muscles fire, you can hinge a little bit more. Push your hips back a little bit more. You'll wait for the back muscles to fire again. And now come all the way back up. Good. Let's start to open the hip up a little bit. So you're going to step, just like we did, you're going to step your right foot on the right corner of the mat. You're going to put your left toes over on the left edge of the mat. Right foot on the right front corner, left toes on the left edge. You can bend both knees today a little bit. And now bend through your front knee a little deeper. Pressing down through your whole foot. Whole foot. Good. Lifting up through the whole spine. Let's stretch our arms out like a surfer. Good. Now just gently twist so you're making your arm parallel with the long edge of your mat. So it's not on a diagonal. Make your arms parallel with the long edge of your mat. A little bit of a twist this way. Breathing. You feel the spaciousness. Room under your armpits, room across your collarbones, room in the front of your hips. Good. Let's drop the arms down. Let's take a big old step. Putting the left foot at the front corner of your mat. Left corner of your mat. And step the right toes off onto the right edge. You can leave the back knee a little bent today. You're going to bend the front knee. But you want to plant down through the whole foot, almost like you're smearing your toes, spreading your toes into your mat today. Making space. You're going to stretch your arms out, the arms will be on a diagonal, foot to foot. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn the shoulders so you're in parallel line with the long edge of your mat. Once you've got the shape now, open, maybe lift your arms a little higher. Lift your chin a little bit to open your throat. Be spacious, vast, like the sky. Good, go ahead, take a big old step back to the front of your mat. Great warrior 2. Great warrior 2. Let's try it again. You're going to put the right foot on the right edge of the mat. You're going to take the left toes and cover the left edge of your mat. So it's this wide, spacious stance. You can even keep the back knee a little bent today. Go ahead and rebend the right knee. Firm. You want to press down and out through our feet, like the way tree roots. Tree roots are like, oh man, how spacious can I get in the soil to find nutrients? Think of your feet like that. They're spreading down and out through the toes. Arms out, and then just give a gentle rotation so you're parallel with the long edge. Now be big. All the joints should be supporting each other. You're in this big web of muscle supporting the body. Beautiful. Couple more breaths. Good. Relax it down. Bend your knees really deep, and then go ahead and step out of your posture. Walk it out a second. Very nice. You're going to put your left foot in the left corner. You put your right toes over on the right corner. Right edge, sorry. Same pose, second round. Bend both knees, but bend the front knee more deeply. Spread your feet, really like you're rooting down and out. Arms out, and then turn on the diagonal so you're parallel with the long edge of your mat. Breathe long, slow breaths. Let your lungs get filled up. Think of it like they were balloons inflating, becoming spacious like the sky. We know what it's like to have a cluttered physical space. You ever walk into someone's house and there's like too much going on? You're like, oh my God. And like, you imagine their mind must be there's just so much going on. We even know probably what it's like. And we just have so much going on. Good, step to the front of your mat. Times in our lives, maybe you're in a time in your life where it's like that right now. You just have too many things on your list. And your mind is just full. It's overflowing. You're annoying the people that you're around because you got so much stuff taking up space in our own minds. Good, so we just did some widening of the hips. Remember, even though when you take up space in one area of the body, you contract in the other. So now we'll kind of do the opposite, right? You're gonna grab a block. You've got 2 blocks, grab 2 blocks. And with the first block, you'll put it between your thighs. And with the second block, you'll put it kind of like between your, let's try ankles. Let's do ankles, yeah. Between the ankles. And they might not make it as the same size. You might have to make one on like the medium thickness. Okay, so you can squeeze. Because when we opened our stance, we contracted the outer leg muscles to have a more open, spacious stance. And it's hard to understand, but it is happening that when you squeeze now here, you squeeze your legs, you squeeze these blocks, you're making space on the outer hip muscles, and you're actually making space in the hip joint a little bit, primarily the back, the glute area. So squeeze that block and start to bend your knees. This will keep the back of the hips spacious. Let's see if you notice that. As you bend your knees, squeezing the blocks. Shift your hips back. There should be more room to support your spine. Good. Hinging a little bit, totally cool is what we're kind of working on today. Keeping space in our whole low back, low hip, abdominal area. Good. Inhale, come all the way up. Standing tall, you can kind of relax a little bit. Did you feel that? Just give me like a thumbs up if you understood that, like, by squeezing the legs, you actually made some space in the back of the hips. And you can do like one of those like wavy hands where like, I kind of get what you're talking about, which really means you don't. Give me any maybes. No, you kind of get what I'm talking about. All right, cool. Let's try one more time. So squeeze the blocks. Notice how the squeezing in the inner opens the back and the outer of the hips, and then we shift our hips back, shift our weight back, lowering down. Breathe here. Don't go too far. See on my own body where it's like, oh, here's this constricting. Good, let's come back up. Go ahead and remove the blocks. And we'll come back down to our mats. So placing the hands on the blocks, knees wide apart, open. Drop your low back in, open your throat. Breathe deep, slow breaths, take up space. Kneeling push-up. So keep your knees down, just walk them back a little bit. We're gonna bend and then push back up. Nice and wide, hands as wide as your yoga mat, even on the blocks. Bend, push back up. Last one, bend, push back up. My favorite way to get one more out of us, we bend, and this time as we bend, we're gonna lower all the way down onto our belly. We're making space in the front body. You're gonna take your arms out with the blocks if you've got them, on a V-shaped diagonal. So V's, a V shape with your arm, and push your palms down onto the block. So you have there's like balloons were inflating under your armpits. And then lift your crown up like it was floating like one of those balloons into the sky. And you can feel it. There's space under your ribs, there's space across your chest, there's space in the front of your hip. And if you can, you're gonna tone your legs and lift up your legs. You've got a lot of space in the front of your hips now, front of your body. Breathe and lift more into that pose. Let your back will tone as you make space in the front. Back body tone, so good for our spine. More. And go ahead and rest down. You can turn your head to the side and put your cheek on your back hands. Close your eyes, try to relax your body. When you relax the body, it becomes more spacious. When you relax the body, you become more spacious. Especially after toning like this, you let a positive amount of blood circulation go to the area that was just working. You might be able to feel the pulse of blood or the warmth going to the area that was just working. Let's go ahead and try our second side, our second round. Bring the hands back out, V-shaped. Push your crown up like it's one of those balloons. You can lift the legs or just gently think about lifting the legs and rise up, breathe. So the back muscles engage. And the front body feels very spacious. This is our practice today. That spaciousness keeps us safe, keeps the body nourished. We can apply this into having space in our lives, taking space from a situation in our lives. Most important for yoga, having some space in our own mind. A long, deep breath can be the beginning of that. And relax. Go ahead and lean your head to the other side. Rest. See if you can relax your body. It'll take up space because the contraction of the muscles will relax. You might feel that fresh blood move through that area. It works like this too when in nature, when something gets very cluttered in nature, it's not long before a big storm comes and clears out the debris, blocking a river, blocking a stream. Then go ahead, place your hands under your shoulders. We're going to press up and press back to that tabletop. From kneeling, you're going to come up to kneeling with your hips above your knees. Your hips above your knees. Support your low back. Let's look up again. Stretch the front of the throat. Stretch the front of the chest. Notice what's contracting. I feel it in the back of my neck is contracting. Even my low back a little bit here. It's just the nature, how the body makes space. Sitting back down, let's go ahead and press on up. We're pressing up from the forefoot. You're going to sink your hips back today. When you push your hips way back, that gives your spine plenty of space to safely rise. All right, now we're going to work on our pyramid pose. So you're going to have your feet kind of pointing forward. Right foot on the right side, left foot on the left side. We're practicing a wide stances today. Wide stances help us thematically, and it helps us conceptualize this idea of space. Because narrow stances, even though they're making space in the back of the hips, it's a little bit trickier. So press down through your feet, and remember working on this idea of smearing our feet, spreading our feet, like the way the substrate of mushrooms would grow, or the way tree roots spread out through soil. Heel and ball down, and then broaden the foot. Okay, you can bend both knees today a little bit. That'll help. And very similar to how we've been working today, we push the hips back first before we think about bowing. Just send your hips back in space. That'll open up some space in the joints. And instead of going over the front leg, we're going to go just inside the front leg because that's a little more spacious there. And I'm going to use blocks. You can use blocks as well. So push the hips back, keep your feet anchored. And then make sure your spine is long. Make sure your spine is long. You can gently lengthen your crown. Breathe here, friends. 2 more deep breaths. You can feel where the body wants to create contraction, where it's afraid of space. You might need to change your shape. About how can I create spaciousness in that area of my body? More deep breath. Good. Now engage. Smear down through your feet. Hips go back to safely rise up. This keeps space in your spine. We're going to change our feet. Left foot on the front edge, right foot back. A little bit more closed. It's still open today because it's a wide stance. Knees are basically straight, little bend in both knees for pyramid. The first thing we do is we push our pelvis back, right? That's going to stretch into the back of the hips for us, opening up the musculature of our back hips for stability as we bow inside, just inside the left leg. Your spine long. We're not rounding our spine really yet. We're keeping length on the front and back of the spine. The akasha is the field that all things take place. They say your mind has a field. In this physical world we in, it's a field as well. So when we practice being spacious in our body for our yoga, we should practice having our mind feel spacious as well. Good. Make sure those hips are shifting back as you push down through your feet. Inhale, rise up. Good job. Walk it out a second. Hips should feel spacious. Your hips should feel open. Because then that spacious allows the muscles to tone a little bit easier. Okay, we're going to do another round of that. We're not going to use blocks. We're going to keep the hands free floating so our core has to do the stabilizing for us. If that doesn't feel good on your spine, you can just even be higher and use like a tabletop ledge or something. So the right foot in front, left foot back. One of the reasons I'm doing everything twice today is because that helps spaciousness in the mind. Because the second time you do it, you have more space to sink into the instructions. Because the first time you're just trying to pay attention to the instructions. Second time you get to, what are we doing here? Okay, so spread the feet like tree roots. Move the hips back. You can do it just like we did last round, or keep the arms floating. You won't go as far, but it'll require you to not round your back. It'll keep that space as you think flat back pose. And then just hold and breathe there. Your body's going to tell you, because if you start to round your back, you'll feel some pain. You'll feel restriction. You'll feel contraction. Whereas when I keep my spine long, shift my hips back, I can slowly take more time, which is just another kind of space. Good. Inhale, come all the way up. Let's go ahead and transition to a side. So the left foot's forward, right foot is back. Legs are basically straight, a little bit of bend. Free arm to help stabilize our core. Push the pelvis back. Push the pelvis back, let the arms hang if you can. So the back has to stay engaged, core is engaged. Breathe here. Push down. Let's keep spaciousness. Rise back up. Good work. Good work. Feet wide apart, toes slightly turned out. You're going to interlock your fingers. Keep the hands spread, elbows bent. We're going to lift them up. Lift up. Like you're trying to push on the ceiling a little bit with your hands. Good. Just give a little gentle turn of your spine to the right. A little turn of your spine to the left. One more time. Tilt your spine to the left. Tilt your spine to the right. Come back up and just open your chest across here. Lean back. Lean back. Spread your hands wide apart from each other. Be spacious. And go ahead and relax. Very nice. A little bit of balancing. You're going to use the wall if you'd like, and be as far away from the wall as you can today. So maybe just one fingertip or less fingers touch, but you're not tilting, obviously. You don't want to be so far away that you have to lean. And you're going to have a wider stance from the wall, and you're going to bring up, oh, I like this actually better. Because then you can lean. So if you don't mind, put your right hand on the wall, and then you're going to bring up your left knee, left hand on the left knee. Good. Flex your left foot. Just slowly open the left knee out to the left today. Good. You can bend your right knee, and as you bend your right knee, shift your hips back a little bit. Good. Open your chest. Come back up. Once you change sides, if you're using the wall, you're going to spin around the wall. So the left foot's down, the left hand's on the wall. You start with that right knee in front. Flex the foot. Open the right knee out. Bend the knee, both knees. And open your body. Breathe. Push your hips back, friends. You're like you're sitting down. Opening the hip joint, opening the collarbones. Good. Come back to center. Excellent. You're going to face the wall, fingertips on the wall. Put the right ankle on top of the left knee. Shift your hips back today, way back, to sit down. through your left leg. Sitting as low as you can, keeping that long spine that we've been working on. Very nice, very good. Breathing. Inhale back up. Let's change our legs. Put the left ankle on the right knee. Practice shifting your hips back as you sit down. Very good. Lifting back up. Great. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, take a nice wide stance on your yoga mat. Wide stance, feet are parallel. Wide stance. Good. We'll start by planting our feet like we've done all class and spreading our tree roots. And then we're going to tilt our body to the right. As we tilt our shoulders to the right, we put a little more emphasis into the left hip to try to stretch the right inner thigh. Good. Come on back up. Let's do the opposite. Tilt to the left, push into the right hip, and stretch the left inner thigh. Good. Come back up. Turn the left toes out just a little bit and bend really deep into your left leg. When you bend really deep into your left leg, you're going to drop your hands down onto blocks maybe. Or, yeah, everyone try to go to blocks. I think that's better than the floor. You're going to bend your left knee and put your hands down on blocks. And that right foot can come up, except for the heel. Sit down. Good. Come back up, all the way up. Sink your hips back to lift your body up. Good. All right, you're going to turn the right toes out a little bit, bend into the right leg, and as you drop down with your hands off to the right, lift your left foot, everything but the heel. Sinking low. And ask yourself, do I have enough space? Could I make more space? Could I go wider? Could my hands be farther away? And you sink low. Good, now let's plant our feet. Before we come up, shift your hips way back and then rise up. Good, one more time. We're going to go both sides. Drop stance over to the left. Be spacious with your hands. Stay spacious with your stance. Lifting up the front of the right foot. Good. Push the hips back. Inhale up. Keep spaciousness. Let's drop over onto the right side. Breathing. Shift your hips back. Feet planted and come up. Good. One more time here just to do a standing backhand. Support your low back. Open the front of your hip by lengthening it. Open the throat by lifting the chin. Feel the spaciousness that you've created. Are your feet spreading out like tree roots? Or are they crinkling like little raccoon paws? Spread out through your foot. Good. Come out of that pose. Walk the legs in. Excellent. Have a quick sip of water for yourself. Okay, last standing pose I think for today. We're gonna step the right foot onto the right edge and the left foot off to the left. So the left toes cover the left edge of the mat. We'll do triangle pose today. And we'll come into it first through warrior two. So a wide stance, right foot on the right edge, left toes on the left edge. Bend your front knee really deep. Spread your feet like tree roots. And then back out of your pose. Good. Open your arms out like we did. And give a little turn so your arms are parallel with the mat line. Either both legs are straight or both knees are slightly bent today. And then reach out, not down. Reach out with your right hand like you're going to reach for something, a TV remote. Good. Reach back with your left hand like you're going to reach for a rope because it's like you don't want to fall. Okay, here we go. This is what I've got. The TV remote is floating in the ocean and you're hanging off of a boat trying to grab the TV remote, which is floating in the ocean because you're watching TV on a boat. And you're like, I know how to do yoga. I can get the TV remote. And you're reaching out into the ocean to grab your TV remote. This is our triangle pose today. This is where we are, folks. Some of y'all have been doing yoga with me for like over a decade. It's like, this is what I've got at this point. One more deep breath. Open and stretch. Be spacious. Spacious like the ocean. How's that for theming? Full circle. And come on back up. Good. Bend both knees. Sit your hips back as you step out of your pose. Good. All right, left foot, left corner. Right toes cover the right edge. First, you start with warrior two. You're going to bend. Open up your arms. Turn. Get them parallel with the long edge of your mat. Both knees bent or both knees straight. And you're going to reach out into the ocean. The ocean of spaciousness for your television remote. You're going to reach back with that right hand. Make sure you don't fall out off the boat. Breathe. Stay open across your collarbones. Make sure you're not rounding your back. That's it. Keep stretching. There should be plenty of muscular engagement, plenty of hamstring stretch, even though you're staying big in your poses today. Beautiful. Feel the benefit of being spacious in your asana. Good. Shift your hips on back. Inhale, rise up. And step out of your pose. Good work. Good work. Let's just do a mountain pose. Walk your feet in place. You can close your eyes and just start to walk your feet in place. And just as you walk your feet in place, start to walk them too close together. You can feel what it's like to have not enough space. What it's like when a mind is cluttered and you've got too much going on. It's the same thing with the way you place your feet. What it's like to have feet are too close together. And so you start to walk your feet out enough and you even test that edge. What is a spacious stance where you feel very sturdy and open and balanced? And once you have that, just sink your feet down into the earth. And as you do that, start to sprout your spine. Like, this is a good place to put down some roots. And because I put down some roots, now my spine can sprout like a sapling. Close your eyes, so just feel the spine sprouting up, almost like it was overflowing out of the top of your heart, top of your forehead. Turn your palms to face forward or out. And now let's just breathe full breaths, using the breath to open up our inner body. Stretch the lungs outward by breathing inward. Couple more, just feeling open and free, vast like the sky. Beautiful. Relax a little bit. And slowly come down to a kneeling pose. Knees wide apart today. You can tuck your toes. You want to sit back on some blocks, you can, or even the bolster, you can. Put the bolster between your heels. Spacious stance. Just open our throats just slightly. Palms faced up. Good. And your full torso breathing. Belly, ribs, and chest. On the inhales, trying to expand all of our lungs. All of our lungs. On the inhale, you fill up. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. And then exhale, top down. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. And exhale, top down. Inhale, bottom up, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, top down. Now, forget about the belly, ribs, and chest. That's just the musculature you need to let the air flow into the lungs. Use your awareness and feel the actual lungs themselves. They are inside the rib cage. And try to see if you can feel the lungs themselves fully expanding. It's still bottom up on the inhale, but we're just thinking about the lungs themselves rather than the physical belly, ribs, and chest. Here we go. Inhale, bottom up, filling the lungs. It should look the same, but your attention is on something different. It's on the lungs themselves rather than the musculature. Exhale, top down. Concentrate your mind. Just observe the lungs breathing. Breathing in space. Two more. Good. Go ahead, open your eyes. You're gonna try to restore it back then. Here's what those props were for. So you're gonna choose your height. It might change depending on what you're comfortable with. Sometimes actually the less prop, the better. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna lie on your backs and you're gonna take, let's start with maybe the block or a blanket. What you're gonna do with that block or blanket is just put it under your hips. So I'm gonna move my bolster. I'm gonna start with a block personally, but a pillow is the easiest, right? The thing that lifts your hips up the lowest. But with a block, you're gonna take the block, you're gonna put it right under your pelvis. So your pelvis is up in the air. It's also a little bit easier to keep your knees bent. Billy, what you're gonna do is actually, Billy, you're gonna keep your hips on the ground and put stuff under your chest. You're still gonna get a back bend and a chest opener, but it's going to be a little bit different. It'll keep your head above your heart. So you're going to put the prop under your upper body, whereas the rest of the group's going to put the prop under the hips. Okay, now if this doesn't feel like enough for you to relax here and digest having an open, spacious front body, you're going to add props, add more, turn the block up higher, or add props so that you can be up higher. I'm gonna come over at the screen here and check on folks, make sure you've got something that's very easy to be in. We're gonna be here for several minutes, and we want to be relaxed. And so the one step then, it should feel good enough where you could start to stretch out the legs onto so that the heels are out. Yeah. Just be sensitive, right? Evidently, when you make space, sometimes we cause contraction. So you want any pinchiness or tightness in our low back. It should feel spacious too. Good. Yeah. Bill, you could add more props under your head and ribs if you wanted to, but that looks good if you're happy there. Good, you've all got a back bend going on. Now turn the palms to face up. That helps open the front of the chest or the top of the chest. Close your eyes and quieten. This idea of having spaciousness in our mind means that there's less noise in our mind. That's why a mind feels cluttered, is because it's noisy. A mind feels spacious when there's less noise, there's less thought in the mind. So as you breathe here, you just try to focus not on your thoughts, but on the way the body feels, and on lengthening and being open, being spacious in the whole front musculature. Being bright, looks good. Keep trying to relax a few more moments. Enjoy the space. Our body is held together in the physical space. Our mind's held together in the mental space. And in yoga, they call it the paramakash. So the akash being spaciousness, and the para being the ultimate, the parama, the fullest, the biggest. And they say that all things, physical, mental, spiritual, all things are held in a supreme space, like the cosmos. The cosmos and all the planets are held in space. But that spaciousness is not an empty vacuum. It has substance. And in this way, we are all very connected in the Paramakash, supreme spaciousness. And I think when we're really relaxed in yoga, we understand this. At least a little. When you're ready, you're going to moving slowly is a way to maintain spaciousness. Moving slowly, you'll bend your knees so that you can lift your hips. Moving slowly, when you lift your hips, you can remove your props. Good. Now you might keep the knees bent. It's a little bit easier to keep your back spacious when your feet are flat on the floor. And just bring your right knee toward the body a little bit. And as you bring the knee toward the body, listen to the right hip joint. So that as you bring the knee more toward the body, you maintain a sense of spaciousness in your right hip joint. I'd even recommend holding behind the knee so that the knee can remain more spacious. Sometimes when you pull on the top of the shin, you deny space to the knee. And same practice to the left side, switching. Notice when we take a different mindset, get the deepest stretch possible, we just pull on that leg. And we actually end up taking space away from ourselves in an attempt to become more flexible. Think about your actual body, your actual joints in space as you open the hip. Good. Let's go to the first side again. We're doing everything twice today. Because we didn't do that back then twice, but we were there long enough that it felt like twice. Second side, second time. Relax. Slide your left leg out on the mat. Try not to use your hands. So go as far into the pose as you can without using your hands. This will help you keep space in your joint. Keep your right knee bent to start, and bring your right leg up without your hands. Just lift your right leg up wherever it feels good. And if it feels good to straighten that leg a little bit, you can. You can activate your foot and just listen. Are you keeping space on the joint? And now bring that right leg over to the left. No hands. Look, Mom, no hands. You can stretch your arms out, actually, take up some space. So that might turn into a nice twist for you. You might have to rebend the knee depending on how deep you go. Yeah, exactly. That leg might be a little lower. You can roll that hip over, Jim, all the way over. Yeah. We're just not using our hands to support the pose. Keeping space in our spine and our hip joint as we twist. Stay relaxed. Don't tax the muscle or the joint. And go ahead and roll back to center. Stretching out the right leg. Should be easeful. No binding in your hip. Bending the knees, the key to success. And you're going to pull the left knee up. Don't bind the muscle. Stretch out the leg if you'd like. Or then slowly start to take the left leg over to the right. It might not go as high up as it usually does because you're not using your hand, but you're keeping stability and space around your low back and hip. That's the trade-off you get. Nice and slow, bring the leg back to center. Listen more deeply. Listen with a more spacious mind. Let's go ahead and bring the right leg up and over to the left. One more twist on this side. Come back to center. As you come back to center, go past center and open your right knee out to the right. So you gotta bend your knee and let your knee fall open, your shin to the floor. Yeah, that's it, like a half half butterfly. Yes, your right shin should be on the floor as you open your hip. Yeah, not too high. You gotta lower that leg a little bit, Kathy, if you want to get that shin on the ground. No? Interesting. I think if you lowered your leg a little bit and bring your right foot a little more towards your left thigh. Yeah. And then when you all are ready, you bring your left leg up and take it over to the right. Left leg up, twisting to the right. I threw a curveball at you on this second round, but sorry. Confuse the audience. It's not easy to just say the same thing the second side. Yeah, I want to fill up the space. I practice what I preach a little bit. When you're ready, you're going to bring that left leg all the way out and bring the left foot to the floor and bring the left knee open wide to the left. Just feel, listen. Go ahead and stretch out your legs and arms. Take up space today. Slowly start to stretch your body. Press to a comfortable seat. Namaste. Thank you.